Ladies, let me tell you something. You ever get that text that makes you stop everything you're doing? Your heart skips a beat and your whole soul goes, wait a minute, what does he mean by that? You know what I'm talking about, right? That message that looks simple on the screen, but is carrying 10 different layers of energy behind it. The hey, how you been? Text that comes out of nowhere after 3 weeks of silence. The I was just thinking about you message that hit you right when you finally started getting your peace back. See, that ain't no coincidence, baby. That's not just a message. That's emotion trying to sneak its way back into your life, wearing politeness like a disguise. Because when a man is deeply attached, he don't always know how to say it in a full sentence. He says it in dots, in haze, in random check-ins, in 2 a.m. texts that say, you up? But what he really means is, I can't stop thinking about you. And some of y'all read that and your mind goes into detective mode. You start screenshotting it to your friends like, girl, what you think he means by this? You got a whole board of analysis for a 3-word message. But let me tell you something. When a man is attached to you, you feel it before he even texts it. That energy shows up before his message does. It's the kind of pull that makes your phone light up right when you thought of him. It's that intuition that whispers, he's coming back. And the funny thing is, you can't explain it. You can't predict it. It just happens. Because emotional attachment ain't logical. It's spiritual. It's soul memory. It's his mind remembering your peace, your laughter, your voice, and realizing he can't find that same feeling anywhere else. See, ladies, sometimes a man won't even understand why he's attached. He'll just know that when he's with you, his spirit calms down. He could be around 10 people, but it don't hit the same. You were the peace in his chaos, and now his mind keeps revisiting you like a song that got stuck on replay. He might act like he's moved on, but let me tell you something. Silence don't mean freedom, it just means confusion. Because when a man has tasted genuine connection, he'll always crave it again. That text, that's not about curiosity. That's about memory. He's remembering how he felt when he had you, and his pride might try to hold him back, but his attachment keeps pushing that send button anyway. Now, before you get excited and think, oh, he's attached, that means he's mine. Hold up, queen. Attachment doesn't always mean commitment. Sometimes it's just reflection. Sometimes he's not trying to come back to you. He's trying to come back to himself through you. Because the truth is, some men only start realizing your value when they see you choosing peace over confusion. When they see you glow differently, when they see that smile that says, I'm doing just fine, that's when his heart starts to whisper, damn, she was the one. That's when his text becomes his confession in disguise. But here's what I want you to catch. Don't chase validation from a text. Don't start decoding every word like it's a prophecy. Read it once, take a breath, and remember, if he's truly attached, his actions will follow his words. He'll stop hiding behind small talk and start showing up with intention. Because real attachment reveals itself in consistency, not emojis. You see, men can't fake peace. They can fake interests. They can fake confidence, but they can't fake that feeling they get around a woman who makes them feel seen. That's why they reach out. That's why that text shows up right when you were healing. Because your energy becomes their home even when they walked away from it. Let me tell you something funny. I've seen grown men pretend like they're strong, like they've moved on, only to break down over a memory. You know what melts them? Not beauty, not attention, not drama peace. When you give a man peace, he never forgets it. And when you take that peace away, he feels the storm. He starts scrolling your old pictures, reading your old messages, just to feel that calm again. So when that text comes in, understand what's behind it. It's not just a hey, it's I missed the version of me I was when I was with you. But your job is not to go back and rebuild him. Your job is to stand in your power and let him recognize what he lost when he stopped valuing your energy. Some of y'all lose your whole piece trying to reply right. You type, delete, retype, read it 10 times like it's a final exam. But baby, peace don't need punctuation. Respond if it aligns with your peace. Not your loneliness. Don't feed his curiosity, test his consistency. Because when a man is deeply attached, he'll prove it. He'll move mountains. He'll drop pride. He'll act right. But if all he's offering is words without change, that's not attachment, that's comfort. And comfort is dangerous because it feels safe, but it never grows you. Attachment without growth becomes a cycle, and you deserve evolution, not repetition. Now, let's talk about the deeper layer, the part that makes this real. When a man's attached to you, he's not just thinking about you, he's emotionally invested in your reaction. That's why he texts when he feels lost. He wants to see if you'll still care. That's how he measures his worth. But when you respond with calmness, with maturity, with that I'm good energy, you're not rejecting him, you're teaching him. You're teaching him that your peace isn't negotiable anymore. And that lesson, that hits harder than any argument ever could. Because that's when he realizes she's changed. She's not the same woman who used to overgive, overthink, or over-explain. She's centered now. She's glowing differently now. And nothing humbles a man faster than seeing the woman he once took for granted standing in her divine calm. You see, the woman who knows her worth doesn't wait for a text. She doesn't chase closure. She gives it to herself. Because the queen mindset is knowing that love is not proven through attention, it's proven through intention. A man can send you 10 texts and still not show up for you, but one consistent action can speak louder than all the words in the world. That's why when that text hits, don't rush to reply with emotion. Respond with wisdom. Because the version of you he's texting isn't the same version he left. You've grown. You've healed. You've learned how to be okay without validation. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes him melt. Now, let's be real. There's always that one friend who says, girl, maybe he's just bored. And you know, what? Sometimes he is. But that's not your business. Your job is not to decode boredom. Your job is to protect your peace. Because the right man will never text you out of boredom. He'll reach out of purpose. He'll make his words mean something. He won't leave you confused because he'll know confusion is chaos, and chaos doesn't belong in a queen's life. The wrong one will play games. The right one will bring clarity. So don't let the wrong one distract you from recognizing the difference. Every time your phone buzzes, you got two choices: respond from ego or respond from peace. Ego says, I need to prove my worth. Peace says, I already know it. And when you start moving from that peace, that's when you stop chasing energy that drains you. That's when you start attracting energy that matches you. Because, Queen, your energy is not just attractive, it's addictive. The right man won't ghost you after feeling it. The wrong one won't be able to handle it. That's why your strength confuses the weak and inspires the ready. And ladies, let's not forget, men feel emotions deeply, even if they don't show it. Some of them are just not taught how to express it. That's why they send that random, hey, that's their emotional SOS. They want connection, but they don't know how to ask for it directly. But that's where your growth shows. Because you're not responsible for teaching a man how to love you while he's still figuring himself out. You can show grace, but not at the expense of your peace. You can care, but not at the cost of your clarity. The moment you start prioritizing your peace, the universe aligns everything else around it. That's when love finds you, not because you chase it, but because you embody it. See, when a man is deeply attached to you, the silence gets loud. Every place he goes reminds him of you. Every song becomes a memory. Every text he types and deletes is his pride fighting with his heart. But your job isn't to chase, it's to hold your standard, because the woman who holds her standard becomes unforgettable. She becomes the benchmark. She becomes the one every man compares others to. That's why you don't chase energy, you become it. You don't beg for love, you attract it, because the real ones don't lose queens, they lose access. That's why when that text comes, smile. You don't have to react. You don't have to prove anything. Just remember, peace looks good on you. And the moment you choose peace over panic, you shift the entire dynamic. Because when a man realizes he no longer controls your emotions, that's when he truly sees your power. And that power, that's what he's really attached to. Not just your beauty, not your body, but your energy, the rare, calm, divine energy that feels like home. Now let me break it down for you, Queen, because I know half of y'all been there. You're minding your business, healing, drinking water, praying, journaling, glowing, posting peace quotes on your story, and boom, he texts. You squint at the screen like it's written in another language. Hey, stranger, he says. And you're sitting there like, boy, if you don't get out of my notifications with that recycled line. But something about that message still hits a nerve. Not because you miss him, but because it reminds you of how far you've come. You remember the days when that text would have had you pacing the room, heart racing, mind spinning. But now you read it, smile, and sip your coffee. Growth looks good on you, baby. See, that's the test life gives you. After healing, not to hurt you, but to prove to you that you've changed. That text isn't a trap, it's a checkpoint. It's the universe asking, are you still going to settle for words, or have you learned to wait for actions? Because when you've done your inner work, you stop craving the rush of attention and start valuing the peace of alignment. You start realizing that your worth was never tied to who texts you, but to how you treat yourself when they do. That's when you stop overthinking and start observing. You see the difference between a connection and a comeback attempt, between I miss you and I miss controlling how you felt about me. Let's talk about that control, because a lot of men confuse attachment with ownership. They think, if I can still get her attention, I still got her. Nah, you had access, not ownership. Access expires when respect disappears. A queen knows that. You can love someone, you can wish them well, but you don't reopen the same door that once brought you chaos. Because peace is expensive, and you paid too much in tears to let anyone discount it again. So when he texts, don't see it as temptation. See it as confirmation that your energy is still unforgettable. You're still the piece he can't duplicate, no matter how many distractions he tries to drown it with. And I know some of y'all are thinking, but what if he's really changed? Listen, I'm not saying people can't change. I'm saying time reveals truth. You don't need to test him, just stay consistent with your growth. A changed man will recognize your standard and rise to meet it. An unchanged man will recognize your standard and retreat from it. Either way, you win. Because peace will never lose to confusion. Love will never lose to games. And queens never lose sleep over inconsistency. You don't chase closure, you embody it. You know what's wild? The moment you stop chasing, the right energy starts chasing you. The moment you stop trying to be understood, you start being valued. Because when a woman is at peace with herself, her silence becomes loud. Men feel that silence differently. They start asking questions like, why isn't she reacting? Why isn't she chasing? Who's she talking to now? But it's not about someone else. It's about you finally talking to yourself in peace. That's the version of you they never expected. The calm, healed, unbothered you, the one who doesn't text back out of weakness, but only out of wisdom. Ladies, let me tell you the truth. A man can resist beauty, he can resist flirtation, but he can't resist peace. Peace is powerful. Peace is addictive. When you give him a place where he feels safe, seen, and inspired, he won't know how to walk away easily. That's why even after silence, that text comes through. Because he remembers how he felt, not what you said. He remembers the laughter, the calm energy, the way you made him feel understood without him having to explain himself. That's why he keeps circling back, because peace is rare. But here's the plot twist. Peace becomes more powerful when you stop giving it away to people who haven't earned it. See, emotional attachment is not just about love. It's about comfort. It's about familiarity. You become his safe place, but that doesn't mean he's your forever. That's why you have to be wise enough to recognize when his attachment is emotional and when it's intentional. Because one wants comfort, the other wants commitment. A man who's attached out of emotion will check in when he's lonely. A man who's attached out of purpose will show up even when it's inconvenient. The difference is in the consistency. So when that text hits your screen, don't get flattered, get focused. Because queens don't read messages. They read energy. And let's talk about your response. Because that's where your power lives. You don't have to ghost him to prove you've grown. You don't have to entertain him to prove you care. Sometimes the most powerful reply is a calm, simple one. I'm doing good. Hope you are too. That's it. No paragraphs, no nostalgia, no reopening old wounds. Just peace. Because peace confuses people who once fed off your chaos. And that's exactly how you reclaim your power. When he realizes he no longer triggers you, that's when his attachment turns into reflection. That's when he starts understanding that losing access to a healed woman hurts more than rejection ever did. You know why men melt mentally over women like that? Because calm confidence is rare. The woman who doesn't react, doesn't chase, doesn't beg, that woman is mystery and peace combined. She's not trying to prove her worth. She's embodying it. She's not competing for love. She's attracting it through authenticity. That's the woman who lives rent-free in his mind because she gave him what the world couldn't, peace and presence. That's what men fall for, not the loudest one in the room, but the calmest one with standards. The one who doesn't move with fear, but with faith. The one who doesn't text paragraphs, just lives them. Now, let me be real. Sometimes the universe sends that text not so you can reconnect, but so you can confirm that you've outgrown that version of love. You see the name pop up, your heart doesn't race anymore, and that's when you know healing worked. That's when you realize that you don't need closure from them. You needed closure from who you were when you loved them. And baby, that's growth. That's power. That's liberation. Because you're no longer addicted to potential. You're aligned with peace. You're no longer waiting for someone to see your value. You've already crowned yourself. And for the ladies in the back thinking, but he says he misses me. Let me drop this truth. Missing you doesn't mean he's ready for you. Missing you is easy. Maintaining you takes growth. You can't build a future on nostalgia. You need alignment, not attachment. So when he says, I miss you, smile and say, I miss me too, and I'm finally back. That's not shade, that's truth. Because the version of you that he met was learning. The version of you now is glowing. You learn that love isn't about who texts you first, it's about who respects you always. Ladies, this is your reminder. You are the text that never gets deleted from his mind. You are the message he keeps rereading in his memory. You are the peace he keeps searching for in other people. But your power is in not going back. Your power is in knowing that your energy is a blessing, not a privilege. And when you walk in that energy, love starts to look different. You stop craving attention and start attracting appreciation. You stop waiting for what if and start living in what's next. That's when your whole world shifts. Because the woman who stops chasing validation becomes validation. The woman who stops settling becomes unforgettable. So the next time your phone lights up with that familiar name, take a breath. Remember your worth. Remember the peace you built. You need to rush. You don't need to decode. You already know who you are. You're not the same woman he left. You're the woman he'll never forget. Because peace doesn't chase, it attracts. Love doesn't beg, it inspires. And queens don't crumble when tested. They rise, they smile, and they let destiny do the talking. So let him text, let him wonder, let him miss you. Because baby, you are the calm he can't forget, the standard he can't reach, and the energy he can't replace. And when you realize that, you'll never chase attention again because you'll know that the right one will never make you question your worth, your peace, or your power. You'll know that when a man is deeply attached to you, you don't have to do anything. Just be. Because your being is the blessing, your peace is the magnet, and your growth, that's the message he'll never stop reading in his soul. When a man is deeply attached, he doesn't chase your beauty, he chases your peace. Because peace is the one thing he can't find everywhere else. See, a man can look at 1,000 beautiful faces every single day and never feel a single spark. But when he meets that one woman whose energy doesn't compete but calms him, whose presence doesn't pressure him but grounds him, that's when something shifts. Deep inside of him, it's not her looks that keep his attention. It's how she makes his soul exhale. It's that feeling of ease he can't explain but can't walk away from either. Because peace is rare in a world that constantly asks men to perform, protect, and pretend. And when he finds it in you, it becomes sacred. He starts realizing that the loudest part of love isn't in the chase. It's in the quiet moments that make him feel safe, understood, and seen. Without judgment, he starts remembering that peace doesn't mean boring. It means stability. It means a woman who knows how to speak softly but leave echoes that stay in his mind for days. It means the kind of presence that makes him slow down his thoughts and listen to his own heart. For once, most women think men want constant excitement. But the truth is, excitement fades, peace doesn't. He can get attention from anywhere. But connection like that, it hits differently. It's the kind of connection that makes him rethink what he used to call attraction. Because peace doesn't need validation. Peace doesn't need competition. It doesn't try to prove. It just exists. And when a man tastes that kind of peace, even once, he can't go back to chaos. He can't enjoy the noise of mixed signals anymore. Because once a man experiences a woman who isn't driven by insecurity but by purpose, who isn't desperate for a reply but confident in silence, his spirit starts craving more of that energy. She becomes his calm after the storm, the person he wants to talk to after the long day, the one he can sit with in silence and still feel connected, because that's what real peace does. It doesn't demand attention. It commands it without trying. When he's deeply attached, he doesn't need constant reassurance. He starts building consistency, because real peace inspires responsibility. It awakens a protective instinct in him, not just to guard you, but to protect what you both are building together. He starts texting you not out of habit, but out of alignment. Not because he's bored, but because his heart feels lighter when you're involved in his day. And you might think, oh, he's just being sweet. But no, he's being vulnerable in a language that looks simple on the surface. When a man texts things like, I just wanted to hear your voice. Did you get home safe? You ate yet? It's not small talk. It's emotional presence. It's a man trying to care without saying the word care. It's him showing you that you become part of his rhythm, part of his peace. But here's the truth most people miss. Peace isn't just about being nice or soft-spoken. Peace is powerful. It's the kind of energy that makes him elevate, that inspires him to be better. Not because you nagged him to change, but because your energy reminds him of who he's capable of being. He starts matching your calm. He starts mirroring your grace. He starts showing up with a different kind of focus, because he's realized he's found something that gives him clarity instead of confusion. And in today's world where most relationships are built on games, that clarity feels like gold. When he's deeply attached, your presence becomes a compass. You become that quiet motivation that whispers, you got this, without even saying a word. He starts chasing peace over perfection. And that's when you know you've touched his soul. You see, men are not as complicated as people make them seem. They're just taught to hide what they feel. They're told to suppress, to stay stoic, to never show weakness. But when they meet a woman whose peace makes them feel safe enough to drop the mask, that's when they fall without realizing it. That's when attachment turns into affection, and affection turns into devotion. Because when he can be his true self around you without fear of judgment, that's when his soul relaxes, and that's where the bond begins. It's not always about words. It's in the silence, in the way he lingers a little longer on the phone, in the way his messages get softer at night, in the way he starts sharing parts of his life he never talks about. Those are not random things. Those are signs of emotional trust, the kind that only comes from peace. Now, let's be real. Peace doesn't mean you never argue. It doesn't mean you never have bad days. But even in disagreement, you know how to handle it with grace. You don't fight to be right. You fight to be understood. And that's a kind of maturity that most men never experience until they meet the right woman. That's why when they lose that kind of peace, they feel it deeply. They miss it in the silence. They replay your energy, your calm, your balance. And suddenly all the noise from others feels heavy, because peace is addictive. Once he experiences it, no one else feels right. You become the standard he didn't even know he had, because now he knows what alignment feels like. He knows what it's like to be seen without being drained, to be loved without being pressured. The funny part is, he might not even have the words to describe what he feels. He might not say, "You're my peace," but he'll show it. He'll be more present, more attentive, more protective. He'll start talking to you about things that matter, because when a man finds peace, he wants to build around it. He wants to nurture it because he knows how rare it is. In a world where everyone's trying to outshine each other, you stood out by being calm, confident, and centered, and that's magnetic. That's what draws him in. Not because you're perfect, but because you're peaceful, because you know who you are, because you don't let the noise outside disturb the quiet strength inside, and that's what keeps him coming back every single time. When a man feels that peace, his priorities change. He starts wanting stability more than stimulation. He starts dreaming differently, planning differently, because he finally feels supported instead of drained. That's the kind of energy that makes him melt mentally. That's what makes him text you, "I miss you," without any reason. That's what makes him choose you over temptation, because no amount of excitement compares to peace that feels like home. When he's deeply attached, it's not about lust. It's about safety. It's about gratitude. It's about realizing that what he feels with you can't be duplicated. It's rare, and he knows it. He might test it sometimes. He might pull away to see if it's real. But even then, his heart knows where to return, because peace is magnetic. It always calls him back. There's power in not overreacting, in not chasing, in not trying to force what's already meant for you. Because peace doesn't beg, peace attracts. And when you hold that kind of composure, that's when he starts understanding your worth on a deeper level. He sees that your calm isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the strength of a woman who doesn't settle for chaos, who knows her value without needing validation, who understands that her energy is her greatest currency, and she spends it wisely. That's the kind of mindset that makes a man fall in love with your essence, not just your appearance, because beauty might catch his eye, but peace captures his soul. And when he feels that, he'll move mountains to keep it, even if he doesn't know how to express it. Peace teaches him patience. It humbles his pride. It reshapes his idea of love. And it makes him realize that emotional safety is just as important as physical attraction. It's in that realization that he starts changing his ways, becoming more consistent, more communicative, because he doesn't want to lose what you bring to his life. That's what deep attachment looks like. It's not always loud. It's in the subtle things, the morning texts, the small check-ins, the way he remembers the little details, the way he mirrors your calm when life gets tough. Those are not coincidences. Those are emotional shifts happening because your peace is influencing his growth. You're not changing him. You're inspiring him to evolve. And that's the most powerful influence a woman can have. So when you see that message, that small, "Hey, you, just checking in. You crossed my mind." Don't underestimate it, because sometimes that's his soul saying, "You're my peace." Sometimes that's his way of grounding himself in the connection that feels real, in the energy that brings him back to balance. Because when a man is being deeply attached, it's not about constant words. It's about consistent presence. And if his peace lives where you are, you'll know it, not by how loud he says it, but by how consistently he shows it. Because peace, once found, becomes his addiction. And that's why when he's deeply attached, he doesn't chase your beauty, he chases your peace, because it's the one thing he knows he can't find anywhere else. The moment you stop reacting, something powerful happens inside of you. Something shifts in the atmosphere. And that's when you start to see who's truly there for you and who's only there for the attention you gave them. You see, reaction is energy. It's an exchange. It's communication even without words. And some people live off that. They don't need your love. They need your response. They crave your presence, not because they value it, but because it feeds their ego. And when you stop giving that energy, when you stop feeding that need, everything becomes crystal clear. People show you their truth when you stop giving them the stage to perform. That silence becomes louder than every paragraph you ever typed, trying to explain your heart. That pause becomes a mirror that reflects intentions. And suddenly you start realizing who was there for the connection and who was there for control, who wanted your heart and who just wanted your focus. Because when you no longer react, you remove their power over you. You take back your peace, your emotions, your center, and you start to stand in a place of control that no argument, no manipulation, no guilt trip can shake. You see, when you stop reacting, you start revealing, because your silence forces people to hear themselves. They start to replay what they said, what they did, how they moved, and it exposes who they really are, not who they pretended to be. Some people will get angry at your calm because they can't control it, they can't twist it, they can't use it to fuel their bull narrative. They can't say you're overreacting because you didn't react at all. And that bothers them more than your words ever could, because now they're left alone with their own behavior. And that's uncomfortable. Silence makes people confront themselves, and not everyone can handle that mirror. Not everyone can look into their reflection without excuses. So instead of taking accountability, they'll try to provoke you. They'll push buttons. They'll disappear. They'll come back. They'll test if they still have access. But when you stay grounded, when you keep your energy calm and your response measured, they start realizing that your peace is something they can't play with. And that's when real strength starts to build. Not the kind of strength that shouts, but the kind that breathes, the kind that knows, the kind that's not moved by chaos anymore. You learn that not every message deserves a reply. Not every argument deserves your explanation. Not every person deserves your energy. Because peace is not passive, it's power, it's awareness. It's choosing not to let someone pull you into a storm that doesn't belong to you. And when you learn that, everything changes. You stop living to prove your side and start living to protect your peace. And people notice that shift. They can feel it. Your energy stops begging. It starts leading. Your vibe starts saying what your words no longer need to. It says, I'm not available for confusion. I'm not signing up for emotional games. I'm not auditioning for love that doesn't know my worth. And that message hits deeper than any text ever could. Some people will call it cold. They'll call it distant. They'll call it pride. But it's not pride. It's clarity. It's growth. It's the kind of wisdom that only comes from having your heart mishandled too many times, from realizing that not every bond was meant to last, that sometimes your peace costs you people, but it's worth every loss, because you never lose someone real by protecting your calm. You only lose distractions. And when those distractions fall away, peace becomes addictive. You start valuing quiet more than conversation, presence more than promises, effort more than words. And when you start moving like that, you begin attracting differently, because your energy now has boundaries. It has purpose. It's no longer desperate. It's discerning. You see, the moment you stop reacting is the moment you start teaching people how to treat you without saying a single word. It's the silent contract that says, my peace matters, my time matters, my love matters, and I'm not going to trade it for temporary attention. When you don't respond to manipulation, you're setting the price of your energy. You're saying, this is not for sale. This is sacred. And the people who really see you, the ones who genuinely care, they'll understand it, they'll respect it, they'll move accordingly because they're not threatened by your calm. They're inspired by it. Your calm tells them you know who you are. You're not moved by pressure. You're moved by purpose. You're not desperate to prove yourself because you've already made peace with yourself. And that's the type of energy that makes a man stop and think. Because when a woman stops reacting, it doesn't mean she stopped feeling. It means she's reached a point where she's done explaining her worth. And that's a powerful place to be because real men sense that energy. They know when a woman has peace in her spirit, they know she's not looking for validation. She's not begging for effort. She's not chasing closure. She's standing firm. And that draws a different kind of respect. It makes them step up or step out. But either way, it brings you peace because you finally stop living in reaction mode and start living in alignment mode. You start moving with intention instead of emotion. And sometimes that silence is the test that separates those who were genuine from those who were just convenient. Because if someone's connection to you was real, they won't disappear. When you stop reacting, they'll reach out, they'll check in, they'll care enough to clarify. But if it was shallow, they'll fade. They'll look for someone else to feed their need for attention. And that's your answer right there. Silence exposes what conversation tried to hide. When you stop reacting, you stop chasing explanations and you start observing patterns. You start to see what your emotions were too loud to notice because love is not supposed to drain you. It's supposed to center you. And anything that constantly pulls you into confusion isn't love. It's dependency. The moment you stop reacting, you give yourself space to breathe, to think, to heal, to see things clearly without emotional fog. You learn that sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's saying, I deserve peace, even if it means letting go of what I wanted, because peace is more valuable than closure. And when you start valuing peace like that, life starts rewarding you with people and situations that match that energy because the universe doesn't send peace to chaos. It sends peace to those who know how to protect it. And here's the funny part. When you stop reacting, the same people who ignored your peace start chasing it. They start wondering why your energy changed. They start missing the attention you used to give. And that's the moment they realize what they lost. But by then, you've already evolved past needing their validation because silence healed you, and healed people don't chase chaos. Healed people choose calm. And that's the shift that changes your entire love life, your entire mindset, your entire aura. You go from explaining to observing, from reacting to responding, from pleasing to protecting. And that's where true power lives. The moment you stop reacting, you stop letting people rent space in your mind. You stop letting situations steal your peace. You stop letting emotional manipulation run your mood. And you start mastering emotional intelligence. You start realizing that power isn't in control, it's in composure, that peace isn't found in people, it's found in your ability to remain grounded no matter who walks in or out of your life. And that's when you become unshakable. That's when you become magnetic, because calm is rare, peace is rare, and rare things always attract attention. When your energy says, I'm not desperate, I'm disciplined, people either rise to match your peace or remove themselves, and either way, you win. Because peace wins every time when you stop reacting, you're not giving up, you're growing up, you're learning the power of emotional control, the strength of stillness, the beauty of restraint. And that's when you start to master your energy. And when you master your energy, you master your life. because now you're not driven by chaos. You're led by clarity. You're not searching for validation. You're walking in self-respect. And that's the kind of woman who doesn't chase love. She attracts it naturally because her peace speaks louder than her pain ever did. And that's what makes her unforgettable. Not her looks, not her words, but her energy, her calm, her grace, her strength, the way she holds herself when everything around her tries to shake her. And that's the kind of energy that no man can forget, because it's the kind that reminds him what real love feels like, steady, safe, and sure. He'll always remember the woman who didn't beg to be understood, the one who didn't explain herself over and over again, the one who just moved with quiet confidence and peace. Because there's something unforgettable about a woman who knows who she is, even when someone else doesn't see it yet. There's something magnetic about the way she carries herself when she's not chasing validation, not fighting to prove her worth, not twisting herself into pieces to make someone stay, because that type of energy is rare, it's powerful, it's calm. It's the kind that lingers long after she's gone. It's the kind that keeps a man thinking, keeps him wondering, keeps him comparing every other connection to her, because he realizes she wasn't just another woman in his life. She was a mirror. She showed him what real love, peace, and emotional maturity look like without demanding it. And that's what makes her unforgettable. Because when a woman stops begging to be understood, she stops talking to be heard and starts moving to be felt. She becomes a whole experience, not just a conversation. And that's when her presence becomes her statement, when her peace becomes her message and her silence becomes her power. Because there's a difference between being silent out of weakness and being silent out of wisdom. And she's learned that difference. She's learned that not every disagreement deserves her explanation. Not every misunderstanding deserves her energy. Not every apology deserves her acceptance. She's learned that sometimes peace means letting people think what they want to think, because she doesn't need to prove the truth when she lives it every day. That's the kind of woman who leaves a mark on a man's soul, not because she tried to fix him, not because she tolerated less, but because she held herself to a higher standard. And he felt that maybe not at first. Maybe he thought her peace meant she didn't care. Maybe he mistook her boundaries for distance. Maybe he thought her calm was coldness. But later, when the noise faded, when the distractions wore off, when the people who only entertained him disappeared, that's when her energy started echoing in his mind. That's when he started to realize that peace isn't boring. It's rare. It's healing. It's safe. And that's the exact thing he's been chasing his whole life. Without realizing it, he'll remember how she didn't fight for attention. She just gave space. How she didn't respond to manipulation. She just withdrew her energy. How she didn't explode in anger. She just got quiet. And in that quietness, she taught him what strength really looks like, because strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the way she holds her tongue when she could have destroyed him with truth. It's the way she keeps her dignity when she could have begged for love. It's the way she lets go when every part of her heart wants to hold on. That kind of strength leaves a mark that words can't erase, because it forces a man to face himself. It makes him think about the way he treated her, the way he underestimated her, the way he didn't value the peace she brought into his life. And one day he'll realize he's not just missing her, he's missing the feeling she gave him, that calm, that safety, that acceptance. Because when a woman stops begging to be understood, she becomes unforgettable, not because she played a game, but because she mastered her emotions She learned that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. She learned that understanding doesn't have to come from someone else. It can come from within. And that self-awareness makes her glow differently. It makes her stand differently. It makes her speak differently. Because now she's not operating from fear of loss. She's operating from confidence in her value. She knows that walking away doesn't mean she gave up. It means she chose herself. And that kind of choice is powerful. It's the kind of decision that changes your energy completely. It turns desperation into discipline. It turns confusion into clarity. And that's when she starts attracting differently, because she's no longer trying to convince anyone of her worth. She's living it. And men notice that even if they don't admit it right away, they feel the shift. They feel that quiet confidence that doesn't need validation, that doesn't need to chase, that doesn't compete. And that's what drives them crazy, because deep down, every man craves that kind of energy, the one that challenges him to rise, not by pressure, but by presence. Not by words, but by example. She doesn't demand respect. She embodies it. And that's what makes her unforgettable. Because respect is something that can't be forced. It has to be inspired. And she inspires it without even trying. She makes a man reflect. She makes him think about his actions. She makes him feel his emotions in a way he never allowed himself to before. And that's when he realizes she wasn't just another woman, she was the lesson. The truth is, the woman who doesn't beg to be understood becomes the standard. She becomes the energy that other women get compared to. The one he measures every new connection against without even knowing he's doing it, because she represented peace, purpose, and presence all in one. And those three things are hard to find in the same person. She didn't just talk love, she lived it. She didn't just want effort, she gave grace. She didn't just build chemistry, she built emotional safety. And that's what men remember. Not the arguments, not the games, not the chase, but the peace, the kindness. The realness and the beauty of it all is, she doesn't even know how unforgettable she is. Because she's not doing it to be remembered. She's doing it because it's who she is. She's being herself fully, unapologetically, authentically. And that's what makes her energy so pure. It's not performative. It's genuine. She's not out here trying to prove she's better. She's just choosing not to shrink, not to settle, not to explain her standards to people who don't understand them. She's moved past the need to be chosen. She's focused on choosing herself, her peace, her purpose, and that's what sets her apart. And the more she walks in that confidence, the more magnetic she becomes. Because confidence like that isn't loud, it's quiet, it's graceful. It's felt in the way she carries herself, the way she speaks, the way she handles conflict, the way she chooses not to argue when she could win. Because winning for her isn't proving she's right. It's protecting her peace. It's staying calm. It's maintaining her energy. And that calm is what drives people to respect her, because she's untouchable in the best way. Not because she's cold, but because she's centered. She's anchored. She's grounded in something deeper than attention, deeper than approval. And that's why she's unforgettable. See, when a man meets a woman like that, he might not realize her value immediately, because peace is quiet, and people addicted to chaos often confuse calm with boredom. But over time, he'll start to miss the very things he once overlooked. The way she listened without judgment, the way she didn't force the conversation, the way she gave him space but still cared, the way she loved him with maturity instead of pressure. And that's when it hits him. That's when he realizes she wasn't asking for too much. She was asking the wrong person, because someone who's emotionally mature would have seen her worth from the start. And that realization doesn't fade quickly, because you can replace attention, but you can't replace peace. You can find new excitement, but you can't recreate authenticity. And when he looks back, he'll realize she wasn't trying to be special. She was just real. And real hits different. Real stays. Real echoes. Real changes you. And that's the kind of woman she is. She leaves an imprint, not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't help it. She was too rare to be forgotten, too peaceful to be replaced, too genuine to be replicated. And that's the lesson she leaves behind, that real love doesn't demand to be understood. It just is. And what makes her energy even more powerful is that she doesn't hold resentment. She doesn't walk around bitter. She doesn't seek revenge. She just moves on with grace. And that grace is what confuses everyone. Because in a world full of people trying to prove they're over someone, she's actually over it. She's healed, she's grown, she's glowing. And that's the most attractive energy there is. Because healed energy is confident energy. It's peaceful. It's magnetic. It's that calm that draws everyone in without effort. And that's what he remembers most. The peace, the warmth, the wisdom, the self-respect, the way she didn't lose herself trying to love him. He'll remember that she didn't need closure. She created it. She didn't need apologies to move forward. She forgave and released. She didn't need validation to feel seen. She validated herself. And that's the kind of woman who teaches a man more than any argument could. Because she becomes the one who taught him what emotional maturity looks like, what boundaries look like, what self-love looks like. And that memory doesn't fade. It lingers. It humbles. It transforms. And long after she's gone, her energy still whispers through his life, not as pain, but as wisdom, not as loss, but as lesson. And that's why she'll always be unforgettable. Because she didn't beg to be understood. She simply became the understanding he'll spend years trying to find again.